The speaking time of the Honourable Member for Barataria, Sanwon, be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no? I think the ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Thank you very much. How far is too far? How much is too much? When does indiscriminate corporal punishment become rampant abuse? As we aim for a first world status, the United States has given us much to emulate and much to vehemently reject at the same time as we remain conscious of the terrain upon which we tread. Of course, we have made substantial progress as we aim to repeal Section 22 of the Children Act, which, and I quote, empowers persons with lawful control of the child to administer a reasonable punishment. We are not saying that corporal punishment will forever perpetuate in our society. One day we may outlaw it, but we must do it when our society is ready for it. Furthermore, in order to develop our economy, corporal punishment must be an option for us. Firstly, we have encouraged extracurricular activity, where we note that we must develop our tourism through sports, as my Honourable Sports Minister said, through the hoop for life, and the development of our children's talent through Sandfest and the Best Village competitions. Moreover, Elton Mayo notes that a participative style of government is essential in all organizations in the workplace, and thus we are advocating for the implementation of student councils where children are able to contribute to how their schools are run. I too echo the calls of Devanan Sinanan, the tutor president, who said that there was a marked increase in violence in schools following the ban on corporal punishment. While the ban of corporal punishment in states such as Sweden is laudable, we must realize that the idealistic myth that they are portrayed to be is indeed simply a myth. We cannot have a first world ideal in a non-first world country, but we pledge to work with the opposition and society at large to ensure that we will never, ever, ever give up our fight to combat juvenile delinquency in our nation's schools. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Faizabad.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You may have heard from the other side that corporal punishment serves as a deterrent, that corporal punishment is not abuse, that corporal punishment may save a child's future and may result in a more civilized society. But who doesn't want a more civilized society, Madam Speaker? But we all know that words are open textured, meaning that they have varying meanings and varying shades of meaning, and their interpretation relies solely on the level of education, social upbringing, and personal experiences of the reader. Many may seek to argue that our parents were subject to corporal punishment, and even our grandparents were subject to corporal punishment, and they turned out successful. So why change what's working? Well, I'll tell you why. Because a king's word was a good, strong car in its day, and because a dirt oven made good bread, does this mean that we should stick to them? I am certain, Madam Speaker, that none of these government ministers have a king's word in their garage, or even own a dirt oven. So why do we wish to maintain these archaic laws and principles, and yet still pursue modern technology?
Would the Honourable Member give way?
Yes, I will.
If this old car and this old oven works a lot better than the one that we have now, why would we abandon it? It's an analogy.
According to the member for St. Joseph, I am posing the question to you. Why do we pursue modern technology and yet still wish to maintain these archaic laws? We, the opposition, understand that culture plays an important role in the level of adhering and enforcement of laws in Trinidad and Tobago. For example, although corporal punishment is supposed to be banned in Trinidad and Tobago, it is still a widely used and accepted form of punishment, which should not be so. According to studies done by Cherise Clark at the University of the West Indies, in Corporal Punishment in Trinidad, a dilemma of childhood discipline, she expressed that the adult participants in her study were likely to be expressing fear for the perceived inability to control delinquency without corporal punishment. This is a perceived view by many, whereby they believe that the only way that teachers can control a classroom is with the use of corporal punishment. The following are statements made by 2 childcare workers who participated in the study of Ms. Clark. I don't want to use threats, but even the idea of getting corporal punishment kept you in line. Sometimes it could work, you know. I think for the little ones, it's just to scare them. Madam Speaker, the threat of corporal punishment should not be what encourages the youth to do the right thing. They should be taught that the right thing is the best thing to do because it's beneficial to them. Authoritarian parenting is common among Caribbean cultures as well as African American culture, whereby parents expect children to know that they are being beaten because they are loved. It is believed that somehow this tough love parenting is supposed to reiterate that pain and humiliation is for their own good. But Madam Speaker, all this really does is assert contradiction and confusion. Children who participated in the study of Ms. Clark preferred the use of communication as a form of discipline and wished for more dialogue between themselves and teachers as well as their parents. However, in Trinidadian culture, this is seen as outside the norm, and attempts to negotiate with parents are seen as disrespect. To close, I would like to say that many of us are unaware of the value of developing language to be used as an instrument of thought, description, and analysis for our nation's youth and delinquents. And it's important in creating creativity and initiative. There is an excess of physical interaction between parents and children and a lack in positive verbal interaction. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Komoto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, I'll not be for and I'll be brief. Based on my member for the honorable member for St. Joseph, corporal punishment, redefined, is a method used for disciplining and reforming a wrongdoer or to deter attitudes and behaviors deemed unacceptable. Now, Madam Speaker, let me tell you what unacceptable is. Unacceptable is beating a child and using corporal punishment as an excuse to make it sound right. And reforming. If that is the case, what are you reforming them to be? A murderer, a criminal, or more violent than you are? You see, we must learn to use our voice to speak, to talk to them, to help them learn, and teach them lessons as I am doing right now. Article 1 on the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child states that every child under 18, everyone under 18 has rights. Article 2, every child has these rights. None of the articles states that they have the right to be beaten. And also bear in mind that the penal code in our country explicitly sanctions any form of violence exercised and used on a child. Therefore, corporal punishment is not considered legal. Madam Speaker, I will not support the violation of Article 19 of the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. Madam Speaker, Last thing in closing, people, please, educate, don't punish. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable members, please be advised. Honorable members, please be advised or be courteous about the excessive noise that you are making. Honorable member for Tobago West.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Firstly, I'd like to thank the member for Komoto as seeing the light that we, the opposition, have been seeing with use of corporal punishment. Members of the government, they've been using words like corporal punishment is the last option when everything else fails. They've been linking to, by the member of St. Joseph, a guide to beat, supervised beatings. Are we on a plantation, Madam Speaker? I agree that there is no quick fix to dealing with delinquency. However, a utilitarian approach to corporal punishment can no longer work. None of our nation's children should endure pain and suffering to be disciplined.
Will the honourable member give way?
No, I will not. It is already identifiable that the lines are blurred as to where discipline ends and abuse starts. For centuries, we have used corporal punishment as a means of disciplining our children. To change from this will not be easy, but it seems the government does not understand that. There is no quick fix. Is there a quick fix for our deficit? No. Is there a quick fix for crime? No. How could there be a quick fix for dealing with delinquency? I agree. Administering corporal punishment gives immediate effect. Yes, an effect of fear. We, the opposition, seek to promote long-term, lifelong effects for discipline, as quoted by John B. Watson and B.F. Skinner, who established the psychological school of behaviorism. They said that human nature is able to bend and shape to its circumstances. And I repeat, able to bend and shape to its circumstances. Knowing this, that we can mold and shape our children the way we want them to be. We have the onus to do what we think is best for our children, yes. But does that mean to inflict pain and suffering? However, to get from this change, a paradigm shift will need to take place. And providing the necessary framework to change a cultural acceptance of corporal punishment. You see, corporal punishment is something that we grow as within our society. Our great-grandparents did it, our parents do it, and many of us still do it. I am quoting from a credible source, not a daily newspaper. There was a committee established, No Time to Quit, engaging the nation's youth at risk. This was done in 2013 over an 8-month period, where they looked at the correlation of crime in communities where children are at risk. They looked at prison reform, education, and parenting. This committee was chaired by Mr. Selwyn Ryan. And at no time with their recommendations did they include the use of corporal punishment. We, the opposition, well, soon government members, seek to establish a cradle-to-grave approach to deal with discipline, not a quick fix, by developing long-term approaches. I understand that corporal punishment was removed probably about 20-something years. But however, we've been instilling corporal punishment over 100 years. So it's going to take more than 20-something years to change from this. I I appreciate the member for La Brea indicating that they have put in place alternatives. Great. However, how long were they doing it for? A couple years. We are looking for long-term effects. Discipline is not just for children. Discipline is for all of us. So we want to put it into effect from baby till we're old. Discipline never ends. We are looking at providing a structure and teaching what is expected.
Honorable member, your speaking time has expired.
Madam Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue my speaking time for additional 3 minutes.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the honorable member for Tobago West be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All against say no. No. The clerk will now take the division.
Miss Chung? No. Miss Blackwell?
No.
Mr. Hunt?
No.
Miss Juggernaut?
No.
Mr. Hajrana?
No.
Miss Shah?
No.
Miss Deo Singh?
No.
Mr. Bharat?
No.
Mr. Shah?
No.
Miss Mohammed?
Yes.
Miss Caldero?
Yes.
Miss Paris?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez?
No.
Miss Redman?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Miss Mahabir?
Yes.
Miss Ramada?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Serju?
No.
Miss Smith?
Yes.
Miss Lachman?
Yes.
Miss Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Andrew?
No.
Miss Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Bolans McSween?
Yes.
Miss Ford? Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Miss Danielle?
No.
Miss Ramdeen?
Yes.
Mr. Kanai?
Yes.
Miss Garcia?
Yes.
Miss Furman?
Yes.
Miss Carr?
Yes.
Miss Tamwing?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Sipasad?
Yes.
Miss Maharaj?
Yes.
Miss Nichols?
Yes.
Miss King Messiah?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Miss Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Phillip?
Yes.
Mr. Juggernaut?
Yes.
Miss Parkinson?
Yes.
Miss Simon?
Yes.
Honorable members, the result of the division is 34 members voted for, 13 members voted against, and 0 members abstained. Member, you may continue.
Again, Madam Speaker, they seek a quick fix. will be brief. Providing structure. From birth, a baby understands structure. A newborn knows when it's time to sleep, when it's time to eat. Providing structure. Preschoolers understand rules. So we're instilling it from that small age, continuous. Having positive and supportive, loving relationship between parents and guardians. The tone of voice we use. Giving attention to our children. We all associate attention with love. Positive reinforcement. The members of the government, they only seem to look at the negative children do, which is in a minority to the positives. Acknowledging good behavior and rewarding. Reward does not have to mean privileges or giving something. Reward can simply mean, great job, you did well, I love you. Reducing and eliminating undesirable behavior. It goes as a scale. When you reduce, you need to implement what you would like to have and clearly explaining to children what are the consequences of such behavior without using force. Giving consistency when you're giving punishment. It's the same punishment no matter what you do. That is consistency. And delivering instructions calmly and with empathy as I speak today. Adults, we have to set an example. Children identify with parents and they put feeling to words and words to action. Who the parents are and how they behave will have a profound effect on our children. In closing, our children emulate what they see in us. We lead, they follow. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for St. Augustine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition defined corporal punishment as any form of physical punishment, however light. However, the member for Mayaro contradicted her by saying corporal punishment have no wounds or abuse and does not cause serious damage. Now, to me, it looks like the opposition is confused. They seek alternatives. Madam Speaker, Trinidad and Tobago stands at a critical junction on the road to nation building. As I quote, prominent sociologists Harold Lambers and Halborn in their book Sociology, Themes and Perspectives, 7th edition, stated that the society in which we living is not static, but dynamic. That is, it is ever-changing. It is therefore imperative that as the government of Trinidad and Tobago, we mold the youth of our nation to become well-rounded individuals. Madam Speaker, the psychological development plays an important role in the holistic development of an individual, as I quote. According to the Oxford Dictionary, psychology is a scientific study of the mind and its functions, especially those affecting behavior. Hence, the psychological effect is a change which results in consequences of actions. The opposition states that corporal punishment is harmful. However, verbal abuse is more harmful because it lasts a longer period of time. For example, children who are verbally abused intend to have faster emotional breakdowns, which solely lead to lower self-esteem. Due to this, it can cause physical harm. According to scientific research done at Harvard, as I quote, the prefrontal cortex carries out executive functions which relates to abilities to determine about conflicting thoughts. In layman terms, to know right from wrong. In young children, they cannot mentally assume if something is right or wrong when it is verbally introduced to them, because the brain hasn't fully developed to its full potential. Madam Speaker, Dr. Diane Bomrin of the University of California found that children who are never spanked tend to have behavioral problems. Madam Speaker, I do not think we want a society to become psychologically insane. I had an interview with a teacher about corporal punishment, and this is what she had to say as I go. I don't regret it because I could have been easily distracted and not focused on the important things. We can clearly see that corporal punishment kept her on the right path, the road to success. Madam Speaker, there's an old saying which states prevention is better than cure. It is better to act fast and stop the delinquency in schools than try to solve the problem in the future. It is better to train a child in their formative years than in their older years because the moral values will be instilled in them, Madam Speaker. A study from Madam Speaker, alternative methods such as talking to them, taking away some of their privileges, and even suspension will not be the most effective methods because it shows an individual that there is no real consequence. You know why, Madam Speaker? Because it is very time-consuming. Nonetheless, the benefits of corporal punishment will outweigh any cons that the opposition will spew at you today. As I am about to end, I will leave you with a quote from the great Mahatma Gandhi. Minds that conceive greatness, achieve greatness. We, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, will never, never, ever settle for mediocrity, but always strive for excellence. I say, as a nation, forward ever, backward never. I thank you.
Honorable Member for Sandy Grande.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member for St. Joseph said that corporal punishment, according to the UN Committee, is any punishment which physical force is used and intended to cause some degree of pain or discomfort, however light. Madam Speaker,
I'd like to rise on a point of order. Standing order 48-6.
Honorable Member, I disagree with you. Member, you may continue.
thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, according to Patrick Lenter, and I will quote, one empirical psychologist reviewing the results of studies that compare the effects of corporal punishment with alternative disciplinary tactics concludes that spanking is as effective as alternative, and I repeat, it is as effective as alternative available punishments in young children. So, Madam Speaker, I ask the members of this honorable House, if corporal punishment is considered as effective as alternative methods, why is our government using the avenue that will cause our children mental, emotional distress, Madam Speaker? Why is the government using the avenue that will harm our children in the future, tamper with their brains, Madam Speaker? They cannot
the member give way?
socialize. No, I will not give way. Affecting their socialization, Madam Speaker. I do not understand. I simply cannot understand why the government, who loves children, as stated by Honorable Member for, I believe it is St. Joseph, as stated by him, they love children and will put children through such heinous acts, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, according to the Oxford Dictionary, a bully is a person who uses strength or influence to harm or intimidate those who are weaker. Madam Speaker, I ask you, at schools, are teachers not humans? Do teachers not Are they not susceptible to having their personal lives reflect on their school lives? Madam Speaker, the frustrations of a teacher's home life or personal life can easily be transferred to her work life, Madam Speaker. I ask the members of the government, are we really supporting discipline or are we encouraging sanctioned bullying? Madam Speaker, UNICEF has a campaign against corporal punishment with the slogan, educate, do not punish. Educate, do not punish. Madam Speaker, should we not educate our children instead of punishing them? Why would we want to corporally punish our children, Madam Speaker? It is clearly seen that teachers cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted to display corporal punishments in the schools for our children, Madam Speaker.
Will the honourable member give way?
You should stand when you're asking to give way. How would I know who's speaking? So no, I will not give way. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Aruka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the House. This is a different reasoning, a different pot, a different flavor, and a different seasoning. What am I talking about? Members of the House today. Members of the House today, I tell you that we are cooking today. We are cooking a soup. The pots being the children of our nations, and what we put in them being their character. Today, I intend to emphasize the psychological effects of corporal punishment. Now, we all know that there are pros and cons to this aspect that I am going to address. Now, what is cognitive development? Cognitive development, according to the www.healthofchildren.com, is the construction of the thought processes, including remembering, problem solving, and decision making from childhood to adulthood. In my research, I have learned, Madam Speaker, that cognitive development is ongoing. It continues as the mind is constantly being informed of new behaviors and responses. According to French psychologist Mr. Jean Piaget, cognitive development has different stages. You start at infancy, then you go to toddlerhood, preschool, school age, and within school age you have the category of adolescence. Within these different levels of cognitive development, the mind is able to understand different things. During infancy, children are able to recognize sounds and able to follow movements and know a few simple words. Toddlerhood, which is 18 months to 3 years, learn behaviors. They have the ability to memorize and can learn how to understand discipline. They are also described as being very...
Point of order. Standing Order 55B.
Honorable Member, I do not agree with you. Honorable members, it is now 12:30 p.m. This House will now be suspended for 1 hour lunch and will resume at 1:30 p.m.
As indicated by the Speaker of the House, Ms. Amy Ramkasoon of Waterloo Secondary, the sitting of the 12th National Youth Parliament and debate on a motion on government's policy on corporal punishment, indiscipline, and delinquency is suspended.
The Honorable, the Speaker.
We now return to the 12th National Youth Parliament that takes place on Monday, October 27th, 2014.
The Honourable Member for Aruka, you have 2 minutes remaining of your speaking time. You may resume.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I was saying, according to French psychologist Jean Piaget, there are different stages for cognitive development. They are infancy, toddlerhood, preschool, and within the school age, there is adolescence. Within these different stages of development, it is noted that different types of understanding would come with the type of cognitive development. As during infancy, children are able to recognize sounds, follow moving objects, and know a few simple words, as in comparison to adolescents, which carry out formal operations, meaning that they are now able to have increased independence for thinking through problems and situations. They can also have the application of knowledge. Madam Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to extend my speaking time by 3 minutes to finish my contribution.
Honourable members, the question is that the speaking time of the Honourable Member for Aruka be extended for 3 minutes. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Any against say no. I think the ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Thank you again, Madam Speaker. As I continue, I believe that Trinidad and Tobago has sufficient methods by which we have institutions to meet the full cognitive development of all our citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, from the years of preschool to tertiary education. As I said before, based on the level of cognitive development, different strategies can be put in place for disciplinary measures. One being, as in infancy, the child recognizes sounds, can follow movements, and knows a few simple words. The method of correcting with counsel might not be the most effective method for a toddler, for an infant of this age, which is the years of 0 to 18 months. So I then continue to say that with age, children have increased cognitive development, therefore they are able to make their own decisions and reason. Therefore, new methods can be instilled where the member for Labre, the Honourable Member for Labre, had said that we have guidance counselors within our schools. It is true that these guidance counselors can now counsel our youth based on their ability to ration what they are hearing, based on their misconduct or whatever they had done to breach normal procedures. Madam Speaker, I would also like to say that pain is a universally recognized and understood by every living organism. Therefore, it is safe to say that pain and corporal punishment go hand in hand. Not saying that we aim to harm our children and beat them into subjection. No, that is not what we aim to do. We actually aim to use pain as a direct memory-forming tool to help remind our nation's children of the deed that they have done in the form of their mispractice. As I continue to say, according to Piaget's theory, human beings naturally question authority and some choose to test it. And based on the amount of testing that they do, when they break misconduct rules, whether they engage in misconductivity, different forms of disciplinary actions may be administered. I am not saying that corporal punishment should be used throughout the school life of a child, but more in the formative years where they are more susceptible to understanding the consequences of pain. Madam Speaker, I say corporal punishment is our salt in our pot of soup to add flavor to our nation and create the citizens that we want. I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Diego Martin Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I sat all morning listening to the members of the opposition, and I took note of what you stated. They spoke about child abuse, cortisals, and more child abuse. I would like to inform the members of the opposition, through you, Madam Speaker, that we are debating corporal punishment. Madam Speaker, we are the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and we love our senior citizens. We love the adults. And most importantly, Madam Speaker, we love our children. And that is why we must ensure that becoming citizens that we want them to be, high discipline and respectful. The member for Chaguanas West stated that the corporal punishment led to crime. It is not that. It is that corporal punishment was abolished in 1999. The crime rate has increased. The murder rate has increased. Currently, we have teachers fearful. Their students, fights, weapons, obscenities in the schools. I want to know what policies the government wish to bring forward, what alternative measures, because they're only speaking about child abuse. So members of the opposition, are you going to let the teachers continue to give them lines? They don't do it. You want to continue to give them detention? They don't go. Or better yet, let's give them suspension because they're on vacation now. As the Minister of Community Development, we are aware of the factors that contribute to the crime and delinquency. Adjournment delinquency is any person under 18 that exhibits problematic behavioral issues at home, school, or in social settings. And I extend the definition to neglecting of responsibilities at home and school. The factors that contribute are the lack of supervision, drugs, the dropouts, and students being home alone after school. Students must be fully seen after school and highly supervised. We propose groups and programs that currently exist, such as the Community Mediation Program, the Communication Development Program, the Geriatric Adolescent Partnership Program, and the Community Action for Revival and Empowerment Program, and also the Prime Minister's Best Village. We must ensure that the students are in positive communities and groups, because groups are very influential in the students' lives. We must insert mentoring programs like the National Organization Mentoring Program. We must extend that to persons of athletes in public life and tertiary students to also assist in the development. We must encourage more family activities so the bond between child and parent remains strong. We will have more volunteering, academic tutoring after school in a more practical sense. We have scouts, youth groups, support and guidance, clubs and associations. The Prime Minister Best Village competition in 2002, they realized the need to bridge the gap of the generations by ensuring short poetry and improvisations. And in 2003, they had the Junior Best Village that aids in to expose the youth in culture, to express their social skills, bridge the gap of the school and community. Best Village is not only about dance, music, and theater. It's about food, folklore, carnival, and Trinidad history, which we also want to teach our young persons. You also have vacation camps, so the communities will engender a sense of self-worth throughout the villages and the generations. The Geriatric Adolescent Partnership Program is an intergenerational program which ensures the senior citizens will be allowed to assist the youths. The mediation programs, it will solve disputes, conflict resolutions of truancy, delinquency, conflict resolution, so we can assist in reducing this cortisol that the opposition is speaking about. We have educational programs assisting the parents.
Speaking time has expired.
Madam Speaker, I wish the agreement of the House to extend my speaking time of 3 minutes to continue my contribution.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the honorable member for Diego Martin Central be extended for 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no? I think the ayes have it. Member, you may resume.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members of this House. The education policies will ensure that parents have strong disciplinary methods of dealing with their children, because delinquency begins at home and then it begins to the gangs. So the parents will have these strong mechanisms to deal with the parents in advice and counseling. And we also extend it to the children as well, so they will know the appropriate behavior and understand that and be informed of if their punishments are given, to be stated if it was appropriate as well. The Ministry of Community Development, we are now going to approach a new idea to have visitation of nurses and welfare officers in low single-parent households from child infancy throughout adulthood. The nurses will be going into, the government will be going into homes in order to assist the parents, to ensure that throughout the life, the students are adequately in school. They are involved in groups and extracurricular activities. This will reduce the abuse, the jail, in order for them to be involved in the jail, advice and counseling. These methods are costly indeed, Madam Speaker, but they will be good for the social development of the students, and it will indeed save lives. Madam Speaker, as I close, the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, we are not for child abuse. We clearly stated what is child abuse and corporal punishment. We are a government of love, Madam Speaker. Love, love, and more love. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The honorable member for Diego Martin East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, to reiterate what my fellow member for Diego Martin Central just said, he said that the government is about love. I'd like to go back to what my fellow member said, Mr. Love. They are all for Mr. Love over there. But now, also, I'd like to ask the question to the government. Why the sudden decision to bring back corporal punishment? Isn't this the same government, this exact same party, as a matter of fact, 23 years ago, that had ratified the Child Act in this country? Did it not occur to you when you did this that you probably would have had to actually uphold your promise to this country? Did it not occur to you that you would have to make sure that you enforce this act and keep it? Okay, I'd like to start my points now. Now, believe it
Will
or
the
not.
honourable member give way?
No, I will not give way. Now, believe it or not, there is a direct link to the effects of juvenile delinquency on our economy, on any economy, as a matter of fact. This my bad. You see, Madam Speaker, similar to everything in life, a chain reaction or domino effects happens on a daily basis. And what this government fails to realize is that if we do not deal with this problem now, then our future as a nation is worse than the hands that we leave them in today. According to the United Nations 2002 statistics on violence against children, 20 to 65%, notice the gap, 20 to 65% of all school children have experienced some form of corporal punishment. I find this absolutely ridiculous. And to top it off, I know if it is we are all being real with ourselves, if we were to limit the statistics specifically to Trinidad and Tobago, we all know that the statistic would be 100%. Will the honourable member be willing to give way?
Yes, I will.
Can you provide empirical evidence that in Trinidad and Tobago it would indeed be 100%? Thank you.
I know. This is affecting our economy in ways it shouldn't.
Point of order. Standing order 44-10.
Honorable member, you are advised to look to your notes only for reference purposes only. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, imagine that our taxpayers' hard-earned money on a daily basis is being used to basically rehabilitate the children of our nation. Those whose development were hindered during the most crucial development stages of their lives. This would not be a problem if it wasn't for the side effects of corporal punishment, and not only corporal punishment, as a matter of fact. This extends to the lack of proper installation of alternative methods to corporal punishment. You see, Madam Speaker, this government is not enforcing proper disciplinary practices. They speak of such a wide range of pretty different things that they could do, and that which they are doing right now. And I personally congratulate them for their attempts. But they are not doing enough, because clearly, as we can see, our country's youth are still in a mess. Why is it that
Would the member give way?
No, I will not. Why is it that our youth are being condemned and why is it that our government is condemning our youth? Why are they trying to instill corporal punishment onto our youth? After they were the same ones that made it their business to take it away. They are contradicting themselves. More and more each day, we hear about the degradation of our economic sector. But why is this? If our youth are not being cared and nurtured for in the way that they are supposed to, if they are being neglected and beaten. Honorable member, your speaking time has expired. Madam Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution. Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the honorable member for Diego Martin East be extended for 3 minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. No. Aye. I think the ayes have it. Member, you can continue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I was saying, more and more each day, we hear about the degradation of our economic sector. If the youth of our country are not being cared and nurtured for the way that they are supposed to, the way that this government so deems that they are so trying and they are making it their business that this is happening, why is it that this is not the case? Our youths are being neglected. They are trying to make it possible, they are making it legal to beat our children. And even if our children are being talked to and guided, Madam Speaker, then why is it that the dropout rate and absenteeism rate in our schools they are increasing? They are steadily increasing. In the long run, let us think far ahead from where we are now. 20 years down the road, where will we be when our country needs doctors?
Point of order. Standing order 44-10.
Honorable member, I disagree with you. You could continue, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In the long run, when our country is in need of doctors, lawyers, future politicians, our country will not have the necessary youth. Our youth will not have the necessary training. They will not have the necessary and adequate motives to be able to replace this generation that will be going out. Are we really ready for this? We do not want to put our country at that kind of stake. In our current, we cannot be dependent on oil and gas forever.
Rise on the standing order 4410. Members reading from her book.
Honorable Member for Liberty, I do not agree with you. She is just referencing. Member, you may continue.
Madam Speaker, as I continue again, we cannot be dependent on oil and gas forever, Madam Speaker. And it is through set foundations from now and adequate implementation of disciplining procedures for our youth that we will be able to not only keep them on the right path, but also ensure and secure an economic stability for the future. Chasing them away from education with the precious funds that we are allocating every day from our country, that is a waste of money. And I think that the government is supposed to keep that in mind when it is they are squandering our money on a daily basis. This country's youth, no matter their circumstance.
Speaking time has expired.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Arima.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Who don't hear will feel. The member for Mayaro, he spoke about the UNICEF's definition of saying that discipline and punishment are not the same. I do agree, that is true. However, discipline includes punishment as the definition, according to the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, says, and allow me to quote, "It is the practice of training people to obey rules and orders and punishing them if they do not. The controlled behavior or situation that results from this training is discipline." So then what is indiscipline? Clearly, it's the opposite. It's the lack of discipline, self-control, no morals, improper training, and unruly behavior. I dare say, member for Oropuch West, you keep saying alternative methods, but you did not give any alternative methods. Tobago West, you talked about long-term approaches. What are they? I am yet to hear any. The same punishment for every action or for every crime. Punishment must be consistent. I have never heard of such follies. I remember Newton's law saying, the third law, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And remember for Sandy Grande, corporal punishment is as effective as alternative methods of punishment. You are supporting us? Diego Martin, East, pretty things. We are dealing with alternatives. You have yet to give an alternative. Anyways, a problem cannot be adequately diagnosed or remedied. If it is not diagnosed, you see, you would go by a doctor, right? And he would give you prescriptions without checking you out? No. The real issue here is indiscipline and delinquency, not abuse or corporal punishment, yes, that is important. You see, my Minister of Education, he spoke about the pre-promotion program. And I congratulate you, Minister. That was excellent because this program reached over 15,000 children in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, 15,000. You see, according to Larry Siegel's 2009 Juvenile Delinquency Theory, Practice, and Law, his routine activities theory posits that for delinquency to happen, there are three things that need to be present. Firstly, lack of capable guardians, which are lack of police officers, lack of parental supervision, lack of guardians, security systems, neighbors, also lack of, well, motivated offenders, if you please. Motivated offenders would be persons like teenagers who have nothing to do with their time, who are currently not in school, for which reason, I don't know, because the Ministry of Education has built a lot of schools. Thank you very much. Also, the unemployed would fall under motivated offenders, drug addicts, gang members, and also suitable targets, Madam Speaker. Suitable targets are unlocked homes, expensive cars, transportable goods, easily transportable goods. And you see, these things come together to form or to promote juvenile delinquency. You see, from what my government has stated, we are in favor of alternative methods of dealing with indiscipline. There are no two ways about that. Madam Speaker, allow me to quote from a 2007 paper by Trinidadian sociologist Dr. Daphne Phillip, who was a senator in this honorable house. The paper entitled "The Political Economy of School Violence."
Honorable member, your speaking time has expired.
Madam Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the honorable member for Arima be extended for 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any against say no? No. I think the ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And the paper, Mrs. Daphne Phillips' paper is entitled "A Political Economy of School Violence in Trinidad Towards a Caribbean Theory of Youth Crime." And allow me to quote from her paper. It states, "A rough survey of the vast majority of explanations of the apparent upsurge in youth crime and violent behavior in Trinidad attribute blame to changes in the morals and values in the society, associated with a decline in moral education through religion or with the relaxation of adequate punishment systems for children from an early age for engaging in socially unacceptable behaviors. This is understood as occurring in the home as well as in the school system." You see, Dr. Daphne Phillips spoke about the relaxation of adequate punishment systems. You may ask, what are these punishment systems? Let me give you a hint. Who don't hear will feel corporal punishment? You see, the thing is, pain has a very important part to play in the role of the individual and their functioning and their development. Pain, according to Dartmouth Hitchcock's Medical Center's annual report for 2004 says, it is to warn of impending injury or injury that has already occurred. When someone inflicts corporal punishment on you, they are warning you of what may happen to you had you proceeded in your current path of behavior. May I say, maybe a jail cell? So they prevent further a downfall of you. Government, what do you think about that?
Excellent.
How could a warning in the form of corporal punishment be a violation of Article 19? Punishment originates with a perception of authority. And where there's authority, I dare say there's a level of fear. And fear comes with authority. This government supports alternative methods of dealing with indiscipline and delinquency. Additionally, we agree that corporal punishment should not be the first method of discipline. However, its role is vital because who don't hear will feel.
Honorable Member for Superior. Honorable Member for Lahokota.
Madam Speaker, oh Madam Speaker, I previously heard the Honorable Member for Naparima ask, what is the government alternatives in order to deal with delinquency or curb delinquency? Let me reiterate, because obviously the member did not hear my Minister of Education say that we have strategies set in place. There is the MOS program, the Peace Protection program, and also the school safety officers. As the government, we notice that corporal punishment can affect one's psychological development. Therefore, we have set other alternatives to deal with the issue of delinquency. Strategies may include counseling to troubled children, the use of extensive metal detectors and scanners in every secondary school in Trinidad and Tobago, the introduction of National Task Force on the Violence of Schools, and the formation of groups to keep youth occupied. Madam, I was previously reading an article from the Trinidad Express newspaper, dated the 24th March 2014, when I came across the headline saying, "Schoolgirls behaving bad." Madam, I was totally appalled by this. In that very said article, Mr. Rowley recommended, and I quote, extracting violent children from the school environment and putting them into another controlled environment. He called for special schools for special children. He believed that whether you take a child out of school temporarily for suspension or permanently by expulsion will not change their bad behavior. Madam, the government has systems and organizational structures designed specifically to deal with these young delinquents, such as the YTC Training Center and also the St. Michael's Home for Boys. This is in the attempt to divert them from the more formalized systems of courts and to develop criminal justice policies that seeks to prevent them from further unpleasant actions. Madam Speaker, the government seeks to provide positive and effective development and improvement techniques to assist children in reforming deviant behaviors. Members of the opposition, do not filter your brains or be bombarded by your own personal biasness, but open your mind to what has been said this afternoon. Madam Speaker, the government is digging deep and trying to recognize the best alternative other than our best friend, Mr. Corporal Punishment. Although this is in fact an effective way of disciplining children, we need to put our children's best interests at hand and also develop other ways and measures in dealing with our youth. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, surely that you have heard this government spoke, and given their contribution, you can see that this government is working for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Look at all the resources and money that has been generated into implementing these alternative methods, which, since the beginning of this debate, we have been stating, such as YTEP, NSC, YTC. All of these things have been said and they have been seen, Madam Speaker. Yes. The opposition just choose not to look at it, or not to hear. I don't know why. Madam Speaker, all of these methods that have been implemented in a very civilized manner, which the opposition believes that it is supposed to be dealt with the children in a civilized manner, Madam Speaker, they're all talking methods. Time-wasting, trivial methods, Madam Speaker. Think about all the talking that the teachers would have done. Think about all the talking the parents would have done. Think about all the talking the guidance officers, deans, psychiatrists, psychologists would have done. Talk, talk, talk. Something the opposition is excellent at and accustomed to.
On a point of order, standing order number 48-6.
Honorable Member, I do not agree with you. You may continue.
As I was saying, this government is a government of action. Corporal punishment, Madam Speaker, used as a last resort when all other alternative methods have not yielded the result that we need will be used because, Madam Speaker, it is going to give us immediate change.
Will the Honourable Member give way?
No. Is this hearsay? No, it is not, Madam Speaker. For my hard-working government members here have given you statistics and facts to show, Madam Speaker, that from a certain period of 2008 till this time, decrease in delinquency has gone down. We have a decrease in crime, Madam Speaker. What again does the opposition want us to do? Madam Speaker, I know that those on the other side, they don't possess that intellectual capacity to understand.
On a point of order,
Thus,
standing order number 48-1.
Honorable Member, Honorable Prime Minister, you are asked that you keep it to the topic at hand.
The truth offends. Thus, Madam Speaker, as I was saying, that I know that they will not refrain from emphasizing into the minds of this nation that teachers are ready and willing to abuse their power by just beating or hitting or abusing the nation's children. And I assure you, Madam Speaker, that these erroneous claims are furthest from the truth. For we, the government, we are willing to implement these alternative methods before applying corporal punishments to the school, Madam Speaker, only to be given by trained teachers and administrators, deans, whatever the case might be. And under this government, training of the highest degree. This will be done by the UE Psychology Unit, Madam Speaker, where teachers are going to be able to, they're going to be taught how to deal with their problems, how to not get stressed to conflict with their working environment, Madam Speaker, so that no child is going to be beaten or use extended corporal punishment upon with an emotional attachment. Madam Speaker, teachers on every level of the education system have been working hand in hand with this government to implement these alternative measures. But, Madam Speaker, if we are to say, as the old-time people used to say, that schools are the second homes of our children, where they spend approximately 8 hours in school. Your parents don't go to school with you, Madam Speaker. There are teachers there who are supposed to be the ones who will extend disciplinary action to you at that point in time. trained teachers, trained officials, Madam Speaker. They're not just going to pick out a student and be like, come here, let's beat you because we extend corporal punishment in the school. Only when you are in breach of a law by which you should abide, then, after all, alternative methods have failed, Madam Speaker, corporal punishment will be extended to that individual. So in closing, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member. The Honorable Prime Minister, your speaking time has expired.
Madam Speaker, I seek the agreement of this House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the Honorable Member for Tobago be extended for 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against say no. No. I think the ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
And in closing, Madam Speaker, I would like each and everyone to listen to this very carefully. I stand firm with this government next to our policies position and the alternative methods that have been put in place, Madam Speaker, only in coalition with corporal punishment, for they cannot work separately on their own effectively. But together, Madam Speaker, we will build effective methods that are going to train these individuals to become delinquent, to fit into society, to contribute positively. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Leader of the House. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in response to issues raised by members, the government is trusting a flimsy argument, much like a whip that they want to beat our children with. Firstly, members of Caroni East and Couva North are linking the removal of corporal punishment with an escalating crime rate. However, this is weak and insubstantial. The logical facts that contribute to crime do not include corporal punishment, but rather the impact of foreign media that glorifies violence, the influx of illegal immigrants, the economic recession of 2008, the drug trade, political uprising, corruption in the police force, not corporal punishment. Secondly, the MP for Talparo links corporal punishment to greater productivity and economic growth.
I rise on Standing Order 4410.
No, I am allowed to read as the Leader of the Opposition. As I continue, Madam Speaker. But during the years when corporal punishment was still being administered, Madam Speaker, did we experience all-round economic growth and prosperity? Well, a recession in the 1980s, slumping oil prices in the 1970s, the devaluation of our currency in 1985, and the abandonment of agricultural industries says otherwise. There is no connection between economic growth and corporal punishment, Madam Speaker. Also, Madam Speaker, the member for Talparo, as well as St. Augustine, suggested that children do not possess the mental capacity to understand right and wrong. Then, how will they comprehend why they are being beaten? Furthermore, Madam Speaker, members from Caroni East and Labre have praised alternative measures. The member for Caroni East cited figures that state the crime rate decreased after 2008 due to the impact of corporal punishment. Therefore, these alternative methods are working according to the government. So why is corporal punishment necessary? Also, Madam Speaker, the government members are contradicting themselves. The member for St. Augustine states, forward ever, backward never. But the member for Point Fortin states that bring back the old time days. Madam Speaker, isn't
corporal punishment also a backward step?
Point of order. Standing order 48-6.
Honorable member, I do not agree with you. You may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And this contradiction is evident as their own member for Komoto, did not agree with them. I would like to take this moment to thank the member for Komoto for recognizing the fallacies within the government's arguments and acknowledging the logic put forward by the opposition. Madam Speaker, when we hit adults, we call it assault. When we hit animals, it is cruelty. But when we hit children, the government wants us to believe that it is for their own good. At the third meeting of the Caribbean Interreligious Network 2011, during her address, the Vice President of the Senate, Lindira Udit, said, "It is the right of our society to protect and support the common good. Our children are our common good. We have a God-given opportunity, a God-given responsibility to shape and fashion our children." She noted that every act of violence against a child is an act against every human and spiritual law that governs us all. Madam Speaker, I want to appeal to the House to forget party allegiances and political differences and think about our nation's children. Vote for this motion. I beg to move.
Honorable members, the question is, be it resolved that this Parliament declare the continued use of corporal punishment in schools in Trinidad and Tobago a violation of Article 19 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and be it further resolved that the government indicate clearly its policy positions in relation to alternative methods of dealing with indiscipline and delinquency, and for protecting this nation's children. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any against?
No. Division.
The clerk will now take a division.
Miss Chung?
No.
Miss Blackwell?
No.
Mr. Hunt?
No.
Miss Juggernaut?
No.
Mr. Hajrana?
No.
Miss Shah?
No.
Miss Deo Singh?
No.
Mr. Barrett?
No.
Mr. Shah?
No.
Miss Mohammed?
No.
Miss Caldero?
No.
Miss Paris?
No.
Mr. Fernandez?
No.
Miss Redman?
No.
Mr. Williams? Yes. Miss Mahabir?
No.
Miss Ramada?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Serju?
No.
Mrs. Smith?
No.
Miss Lachman?
No.
Miss Lynch?
No.
Mr. Andrew?
No.
Miss Riley?
No.
Mr. Bolans McSween?
No.
Miss Ford?
Mr. Lewis?
No.
Mr. Ford?
No.
Miss Danielle?
No.
Miss Ramdeen?
No.
Mr. Kanhai?
Yes.
Miss Garcia?
Yes.
Miss Furman?
Yes.
Miss Carr?
Yes.
Miss Tamwing?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Sipasad?
Yes.
Miss Maharaj?
Yes.
Miss Nichols?
Yes.
Miss King Masaya?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Miss Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Quinn Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Phillip?
Yes.
Mr. Jaggernaut?
Yes.
Miss Parkinson?
Yes.
Miss Simon?
Yes.
Honorable members, the result of the division is 18 members voted for, 28 members voted against, and 1 member abstained. The motion has not been approved. The Honorable Leader of the House.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House do now adjourn to a date to be fixed.
Honorable members, prior to putting the question before the House, allow me to express appreciation on behalf of all members of this Youth Parliament to the Trinidad and Tobago branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and the Parliament, in particular, the Planning Committee of the Office of the Parliament who organized this 12th sitting of the National Youth Parliament. Today's debate focused on approaches to dealing with delinquent youth, a topic that has held the attention of past governments and the government of the day. The contributions made by you today, the honorable members, were comprehensive and sought to highlight the various issues surrounding this social phenomenon. The effectiveness of events such as this is determined by the impact it would have after today, rather than the display of the day. Therefore, we trust that the issues raised and the information highlighted during the debate will be reviewed and assessed by the relevant authorities and the appropriate amendments made to the Children's Act or any legislation that deals with indiscipline and delinquency in order to protect the children of our wonderful nation, Trinidad and Tobago. We wish to express our deepest gratitude to all officials who accepted our invitation and graced us with their presence. To our schools and institutions for selecting us, our family and relatives who exercised patience and assisted us in preparing for the debate, we say thank you. Special mention must also be made of the coordinating team of the Parliament who contributed in varying measures to the successful execution of this event. Particular mention must be given to the staff of the Parliament who sacrificed their time to train us in practice and procedure. The vivacious Miss Catherine Gordon, who coached us on dress etiquette and civility, and the effervescent Mrs. Diana Mahabir-Wyatt, who took us through the paces with respect to debating skills, aspects of debate, and the standing orders, and Miss Sonia Moores, who drilled us on oratory skills. It was truly a distinguished privilege to have participated in this annual debate. Permit me now to kindly ask that you remain seated after the adjournment for a brief award ceremony. Thank you. Honorable members, the question